Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Scott McCrae, Shaklee ambassador here in scorching hot Colorado. Welcome
Oh,
to
give
the
me a
call.
break.
Hey, tonight we're
99 degrees.
oh, oof, yeah. I mean, it could have been 104, and I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference.
Me
So, welcome
neither.
everybody. Tonight we're going to be talking about something that's really important about, I think, whether you have a Shaklee business or not. It's about how to talk to people, and especially when you're in some type of environment where you have to sell something. So I think we're all in a position where we have to sell something. I mean, as Rick said, if you're married, that's the biggest sales job you probably ever have to push through, right? So talking to people is a huge skill. We're going to talk about Rick Seymour's 7 magic questions, which I think is ironic because I'm presenting on something that the man who's attending this webinar is just watching me do. So I'm going to see how we do here.
You're
I'll
going
let
to
Rick
do
be the
great.
judge of that.
Go, Scott.
So let me pull up these slides here. All right, 7 magic questions. So, how to prospect without pitching, pressuring, and hearing the word no. So that's kind of the catch to this is how do you get to a point where you don't even have to hear the word no anymore when you're in a prospecting posture? And it's all about having a conversation. So I chose this photo I found online because I think we all get conditioned to some bad experience in our life, why prospecting can feel uncomfortable. I mean, everybody's probably been in a situation where you accidentally said something and you kind of get this reaction. So sometimes we worry about too much about what we're going to say, or we're trying to rely on this one pitch that's going to take care of all situations. And we don't have that prepared. We don't have it thought out. So we say nothing. We begin presenting sometimes before we even know whether a person is even interested in what we have to say, or some people can become defensive. So it may not be the way you're presenting. It may be you're just getting into it too quickly. You gotta back off a little bit and massage this thing a little bit. So that could be your challenge. The person asking the questions in a conversation is the person who is in control of that conversation. And when you launch immediately into a sales pitch or something that you want in the way the direction you want the conversation to go, you give up control of that conversation. So the old approach really in this this whole business of sales is talking and explaining and convincing and then getting to a point where you can ask for a decision as quickly as possible. And that's the society we live in, right? I mean, everybody's interested in just get to the bottom line. Just tell me how much it's going to be at the end. Tell me what the answer is. We want it now, 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 now. So if you can back away that pressure, the new approach is really to ask those questions, listen, understand their position, and then gain permission to share what you have to share in whatever context you're talking about. This can be sales for new ambassadors in Shaklee. This can be for whatever negotiation you're trying to achieve. So I think it's important to keep in mind that we're not trying to recruit the whole everybody. You're that one pitch line that we've been trying to think we can get that will turn everybody over to our side is just a pipe dream. The goal is not to recruit everyone. The purpose of the 7 magic questions is to discover things about that person, what they enjoy, what they like, what's current in their life, what they want to happen in their future, or what they're looking forward to, what things are motivating them, what things are they looking forward to pivot to for other options they've been thinking about. So we're looking for openness and compatibility, not trying to force them into being interested in what we have to say. So another great visual, right? Keep it a conversation. Should not feel like the dark room and the single chair, people under a light bulb, right? I mean, that's sometimes we just kind of forget that we're not the single person trying to convince somebody or extract information from someone. It's a conversation, right? Keep it a conversation. Conversation points include you reacting. as Rick would joke, as an engineer, he would react, but he would forget to tell his face. And the person on the other side would be like, is there anybody on in there? So natural reactions are feel a surprise, raise your eyebrows, open your eyes more, nod your head. That's just nonverbal communication that can go a long way. Follow-up comments. I'll put an asterisk there. Keep your comments very limited. This is not a time to insert shared experiences to a full degree. It could be a more, I understand I went through something similar, and let them continue and encourage them to continue. If you have genuine curiosity about where this person is, here's two things about genuine curiosity. If you fake it, people can sometimes tell you have an agenda. And if you're not genuinely interested in that person, why the heck are you talking to them in the first place? And why would you want them in your Shaklee business if you have no interest in this person, right? So learn the art of appreciating genuine curiosity. It will take you so far in a conversation. So all these things are going to earn trust between the person that you're talking with. So what are these 7 magic questions? Here they are in a list. We're going to go and break them down one by one so there's no confusion. You don't have to freak out that you're not ever going to see this slide again. We're going to review this so everybody has it here, and you can go back to the recording and review this. So if you want to take a screenshot of this now, you certainly can. Let's get into it. So question number 1, what do you do? And question number 2, how long have you been doing it? So when you meet somebody for the first time, or someone that you're just vaguely familiar with and are starting up a conversation, you can ask them what they do. Now, as another asterisk there, if you're talking to a stay-at-home mom and you ask what do they do, some women see that as kind of they can go on the defensive, like, I don't have a job, when really they have 18 jobs all bundled into one, and they can probably do more than the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. But make sure you're encouraging them to, if they say, oh, I just stay home, you got to give them some kudos there for that. So if you're prospecting, asking questions of somebody who's a stay-at-home mom or something like that, ask where are they at in their life right now? What do you get to spend your days doing? You can rephrase that, number 1, however you want. Number 2, very straightforward. How long you've been doing that. So questions number 1 and 2 are important about kind of getting to understand where they're at right now. What is their present situation right now? It's a great point to start a conversation. What do you do? How long have you been doing it? Again, you can reword those however is appropriate for the situation, but it helps reveal a lot in the first part of a conversation. This could take 5 minutes. It could take 30 minutes. It could also be someone that you see every once in a while, and you get to pick up the conversation at another time. If you just get through 1 and 2, you've developed some rapport and some trust, and you can go back to that and ask more questions about those things. But they're going to reveal their experiences in life, what they're committed to, what they're satisfied with, if they have some restlessness because they've been doing something too long, and some great kind of responses to this without interjecting too much into the conversation. And again, you want to keep asking the questions so you can stay in control. Is if somebody says, I've been doing it for 25 years, you say, my gosh, that's a long time. You must love that. You get some interesting responses from that. We'll get into that in a second. But there also might be someone who's doing something for, I've just been doing it for 6 weeks. You're not going to say, wow, that's quite a while. You must really enjoy that. Sounds like a new venture for you. How did you get into that, right? So you can expand with another question there, or just give a little confirmation to move on to question number 3, which is, what do you like about it? All right, so we're going to review here. What do you do? How long have you been doing it? Now we're going to talk about what do you like about it, and what this is kind of like what's the greatest part about what this experience has been for you? And we're listening for, really, honestly, if you look at the list, all the things that Shaklee offers as a career point, right? Flexibility, recognition, helping people, income, creativity, relationships, and independence. All of those are satisfied by a successful Shaklee ambassadorship. Am I wrong? right? All those things are there. So we're going to be listening for those positives to come out of what they're doing right now that they really like. So that's question number 3. Of course, question number 4 is going to be the flip side about it. Is there a downside? Are there any things you don't like about it? This is where we have to shut up really well, right? Because we really want them to dig deep and find things that might be something dissatisfying in their life. And we're looking for all the things that are not a Shaklee ambassadorship, right? So is there anything you don't like about it? We're listening for the long hours, the limited advancement in their job opportunity, or I'm stuck at home without any options to contribute to an income for the household. There's a lack of flexibility in what they do with their job, right? They're stuck in a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and they can't get out of it. Stress, okay, you can have a little bit of stress as a Shaklee ambassador. I will allow that, and we have stress relief complex, so get over it. All right. Job insecurity, not feeling fulfilled at work. And a lot of that is, recognition came from the question number 3, right? People like recognition. Maybe they're not getting recognized at their job, right? This could be the flip side of it. Or if they're in a career that's just not gelling, maybe they're not feeling like they're getting what they deserve. But the key message is this. The question 3 is talking about what they want to keep in their life, and question 4 is about some of the things they'd like to jettison out of their life, right? So very good defining questions there. Let's move on to number 5. What would you like to be doing 5 to 10 years from now? So we're not talking like, how would you like to wrap up your life? This is a horizon goal. This isn't a long-term goal. Could be, but you want to try and see if there's a mid-range, long-term kind of thought process going on in this person after they've told you maybe they're looking at changing directions. Now, here's the thing. You'll never hear the word no by asking if they would like to continue with a Shaklee conversation about an ambassadorship or becoming a customer, because if they get to question number 4 and said, man, there are no downsides. If I died today, I'll be the happiest person on earth, and I hope this never changes for the next 75 years. I would say you don't have to continue the conversation towards a prospecting venue, just get to know this person, right? But number 5, what would you like to be doing 5 to 10 years from now? You're going to find out what their goals and their dreams are, if they've really had a burning desire to do something else than what they're doing, right? Maybe there's dissatisfaction, or maybe they're just satisfied with what they're doing, but they want more. If they're thinking beyond today, this is a great way to continue the conversation. What are you going to do to make that happen? Or what are you working on currently that's going to design your pathway for that 5 or 10-year goal? So question number 6, what are you doing right now? Now, a lot comes out in this question if you make it this far in the conversation. Again, you might be like, this person is a winner and we want to keep going, or I think we're going to just terminate the conversation right here and move along. This is so great about this formula is you have all the control and the options at this point. But if you make it to question 6 and they have a plan, this is going to reveal some things about them. Are they a pipe dreamer, or are they really motivated to get there? Have they taken some action steps? Do they have a plan? Maybe they have a great vision of what they want, but they don't have a pathway to get there, and they're waiting for something to come along. They can talk about, I keep buying lottery tickets, whatever that might be. That's always an indicator, right? They're willing to do something, but they need to be searching for the right vehicle. Excuse me. So we finally make it to number 7 if they don't have a good plan or they're open to looking at options. So number 7, ask permission. Excuse me. Are you open to evaluating options so that might help get you there faster or give you an alternate way to get there? This is the pivotal question. If you don't get to this number 7, you'll never hear the word no again, right? Because you terminated the conversation. You don't need to go any further. So a no from somebody says that I'm not open to evaluating other options means you still get to respect that and continue the relationship. Pardon me. A no is not I don't ever want to see you again, because they don't even know what they're saying no to. You just gave them the option to look at other options. So A yes gives you permission to share what you have, but you avoid presenting to someone who has not expressed explicitly to you that they want to move forward in the conversation in that way. So don't take the yes, I'm looking at options and then pull out a, a large piece of paper and start drawing a plan for them, right? That's not the goal here. The goal is to get an appointment for another appointment setting so you have time to give the Shaklee product or the Shaklee opportunity justice, right? It's a big cookie to swallow in one fell swoop. So you definitely want to have some time where you can collect your thoughts and reflect back on all the things that you just learned in questions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So once you've developed that trust, it makes making an an appointment much easier. So I think this is important. If you do get the appointment, we are of course listening for needs in this conversation, right? But we have run into people who they really need a new car or they need to lose some weight, right? Not a great conversation starter. People do not focus genuinely on what they need, even though they may genuinely need more income, better nutrition, greater flexibility, weight loss, changing careers, fire their boss, get rid of some toxic relationship. But we don't want to just focus on the needs of people as the whole focus of an opportunity presentation. We really want to focus on what their dreams and what their hopes and what their aspirations are, right? Our job is not to tell them what they should want. That's basically in a nutshell. We're just listening to let them lead us down that path as to what is the best version of their life that you may be able to help them do. That there's a key distinction between the wants and the needs. So remember that as part of this whole process. Active listening is important. When we're asking questions, we have to give them time to answer. And sometimes people will ponder a question, a good question, for 10 seconds, which for you feels like an eternity. And you have to jump in with something else before you think you're losing control of the conversation. That's not what's going on. Give people time to respond. So stop talking. Let them finish. Don't interrupt them with your side or your opinion until you fully understand their position. Rick calls this, it's asking a question and you're thinking about the next question, or you're running with some kind of answer in your head so that you have something to keep the conversation going. This is a real skill. This is something that over time you will learn how to do in the background and still being able to listen to the person's answer. So it does take some practice. It's okay to dig deeper. Ask a follow-up question like, can you give me a little more detail on about what you just told me about such and such? When you can repeat something that they have said, they immediately understand that you really were listening to what they were saying. So when you said this, does that mean this or does it mean that? So if you can use their exact language and repeat it back to them, great feedback to them. They know that you are dialed in, you are engaged, you are listening. So before you fully move on to next questions or subjects, give them that time, give them that space to answer completely and honestly. So I think we're always expecting the no, get away. Well, if you get to this point where you're seeing the hand up and people are pushing you away, you did something wrong. So we're going to go over some don'ts as well. But there's a great way to handle no, and that's before it even comes. And just so you know, no is an acceptable answer. It won't affect our relationship either way. Is a great precursor to any proposal that you haven't delivered yet, so that people know that this is nothing about our relationship. It's just something I'm offering, and it doesn't matter if you take it either way or not. We're still going to come out as friends in the end. This reduces people from having to put the hand up in a defensive position, right? It demonstrates that we're confident in what we have to offer, but we're also secure in the relationship that we've just established with this person. So again, people do business with people who they know, they like, and they trust. Trust is the hardest one. So if you can maintain that trust, this is a great way to do it so that people don't feel any kind of pressure for what you might have to offer. All right, let's talk about a few things that I have probably done most of these things, if not all. It's so easy to get so excited when somebody mentions a need. And remember, we talked about needs to launch into our testimonial on what we did because we had that same need, right? So easy to do because we have the answer and we had such a great experience getting that answer. We want to share it immediately. So careful not to launch into that too quickly. Answering questions for them. All right. Again, guilty. If you answer a question after you've asked it, why are you having a conversation with them in the first place, right? We need to give them that time to answer that question. I love this one. Do not diagnose their life. Wow. Yeah. Do I really need to go into detail with that one? Probably not, because I think
No.
we've all sat across from somebody who did that to us, right? So it, if you catch yourself saying you should do this, and yeah, why are you doing, wow. All right, back away and really take a look from 30,000 feet and have an out of body experience with that one. In Shaklee, don't exaggerate earnings or outcomes. Well, I know a guy that makes $100,000 every day. You can do that too, right? That's the other guys, right? That's the pyramid schemes. That's the jokers in our industry that will say anything to get anybody to pay attention to them. We don't have to do that. We have all the documentation that speaks for itself. So we don't have to exaggerate it. We can show them exactly what Shaklee has to offer from a health standpoint and an income standpoint. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that's important. Don't turn every conversation to a recruitment. People will read through that. They will they will know you are not genuine if you have an agenda. And that's what comes through when every conversation is a recruitment attempt. And worse, if your reputation is that all you do is recruit for your multi-level marketing company, you're going to find people running away or walking uh, on the same side of the street, seeing you and then crossing the street, right? Nobody wants that relationship. Don't keep pressing. I think that's good. Now, there's a difference between handling objections and pressing after they said they're not open or no. Okay, so handling objections, that's another training session. We can handle that, but don't confuse the two. Objections and keeping pressure on somebody are two entirely different issues. And again, be genuine. Don't just pretend to be interested in somebody because you might get them as a Shaklee ambassador. So authentic interest is absolutely essential. All right, so what to listen for? If you're thinking about the magic questions, the 7 questions, kind of in an alternate framework, really you can break it down into 4 key things in this little chart here. Questions number 1 and 2, what do you do? How long have you been doing it? Um, and number 3, what do you like about it? Is this about what they value? So you're going to be listening for things like family time, what they did on the weekend. Great question. What'd you do this weekend? Man, what a great question. That'll open up so many things. What do you got planned next weekend? Listen for that kind of stuff. You're going to hear all about that. And then question number 4, is there a downside? What don't you like about it? They're going to be talking about what frustrates them. Number 5, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? What they want. Freedom, purpose, extra income, extra time, philanthropic ventures, right? And then number 7, are they willing to do anything to get to that? Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? What are they willing to do for that? You're going to learn about how they evaluate things, what kind of motivation they have, if they're going to take action in something. So if you think about the 7 magic questions in a different framework, this would be kind of how you're crafting that conversation if you're using it for both getting to know the person and it's a possible prospecting situation. So final takeaways here. You don't need a perfect pitch. Well, maybe when you're singing, but not when you're talking about the Shaklee opportunity or the product. You just genuinely got to be interested in people and learn how to ask thoughtful questions and give them time to respond to those thoughtful questions. Listen hard. use their language and ask them questions specifically about what they said. You're going to determine whether or not they're open to what you have to offer by just inviting them to evaluate with a no strings attached. We can still be friends. So Shaklee is a possible vehicle for a lot of people. We just have to get there a little later. It can't be the first question in a conversation. So if you're struggling, that's probably what's going on. You haven't given it enough massaging to get to that last point in the conversation. So ask more, listen longer, present less, and invite with permission and keep the friendship solid. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are
That
done.
was excellent.
Great perspective, Scott.
You're
Excellent.
welcome.
Very good.
If any of you have any questions specifically about conversations that went south, or you're wondering how to approach a specific person you really want to talk to, now would be a good time to open that up.
I have one question.
Yeah,
When you
Jenny.
get to the question, what's your plan for 5 years from now? Or what are you going to do to get there? And they go, is that a person you want, or is that a person you want to
Could
push?
be. I think, are you looking for options is exactly the same question you would ask for someone who maybe already has a plan laid out, right? Because if they're like, well, no, not really. Well, now you know we're not getting on to number 7. So, are you looking for options is a great way to, I think, handle that. And then take the questions later. I mean, obviously, some people are going to say yes. Again, that's another training segment that we're going to get into. What happens when they do say yes? Because you're not going to present the same opportunity presentation to everybody the exact same way based on the conversation you just had, questions 1 through 6, right? So, great question, Jenny. Yes, I would say, well, are you open to looking at options?
Well, I think another way to handle that too, Jenny, is you got the answers to what they like and what they don't like. You could just say, well, if there were an option out there where you could have all that stuff you want without having to deal with all that stuff you don't want,
Mhm.
would that be worth taking a look at?
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Well, that was certainly a
I would just like to
Oh.
present another option, if that's okay.
absolutely.
In addition, some of those questions are very valid for a follow-up to a customer or to a person who came to an in-home. When you're doing a follow-up for their attendance, utilizing some of those questions is really crucial. And sometimes even with customers that you've had for a while, making that relationship question and asking some of those questions is really valid.
Absolutely. I think we don't do enough uh, probing about tell me more about what you just saw and let them kind of speak their mind from that. Yeah, thank you, Eldon. I appreciate that because sometimes we run into people who are in the middle of your presentation, say at our leads group, we might have someone who actually saw some information. So yeah, great way to introduce the 7 magic questions almost kind of from the beginning, but with a lot more context. For sure. Stefan, you had a hand raised, I see. Sorry, we missed that.
No, all good. I was just wondering if I may throw something in here as well.
Find
Please.
some of the other people.
So Jennifer, one one thing that I've observed in that when people don't really respond to that, it still is a response. And it could be all kinds of different things. It could be that they're confronted. They have plans, they have visions, but they're so frustrated they've given up on those. And if I have been really well listening before that, then I can tell that they have something. They just don't want to let it out. And that could be the other thing. I mean, sometimes people ask me, "Hey, do you have any plans for the weekend?" And I'm like, that's none of your business, you know?
Oh,
So
Yeah.
no, seriously, because
Yeah.
sometimes people ask me those things and I know it's just small talk. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk these things with that person, you know. So it sounds like a very subtle and easy question. Not necessarily.
Hmm.
It's a very telling question as well.
Absolutely. And I think um, having that kind of information come back to you indicates to me that there's more of a conversation on a different level at a different time.
Exactly. Exactly.
I wouldn't say it ends the relationship or anything like that,
No.
right? It just means
No, no,
that
no.
there's a deeper conversation to be had. And I would say, in response to something like, wow, it's kind of personal, this, I'd be like, oh, so sorry. I didn't mean to pry. Um, we can have coffee at some point later when it's more appropriate. Let me know how things go, and just leave it at that. Totally fine.
What do you do if I know I've been in a situation where I've started to kind of go that route where you're wanting 7 magic questions, but then somebody walks up that they know, or it's like a chamber event or something, and that happens a lot. Somebody will walk up and say, "Oh, hey," or they'll see somebody while you're talking to them, and they come over before you know it. They're got their own conversation going,
You
but
betcha.
then that person leaves, and then you're still with that person. How do you kind of navigate it back so it looks genuine, which you want it to be, but
Definitely two things I would consider doing in that, maybe three. If if they get engaged in another conversation with somebody, I would politely notice something across the room, whatever that might be. It could be the lamp on the wall, but turn and say, would you excuse me for just 1 second? I just saw somebody I need to connect with. I see you two know each other. Is it okay if I circle back to you in a few minutes? Most people will be like, yeah, go ahead, and they'll continue their conversation. You've now let them given you permission to come back to them at a later time.
oh, that's good. Yeah.
Uh, in that way, you don't feel awkward, the fifth wheel in a conversation, sitting off to the side, trying to listen into something that could be personal. You don't know, but you're excusing yourself out of the situation, but giving yourself an opportunity to give them permission to have you come back. So that's one thing I would consider doing. Um, Number two, if somebody came up and they were obviously still wanting to be engaged in the conversation, then I would ask for, would you please introduce me? How do you two know each other? Because that's engaging. Now you got two people involved in
Yeah.
the 7 magic questions. I'd say it's a bonus, right? Because you get to know their
Mhm.
relationship. Now you get to hear a backstory that never would have come up in the original conversation you had with just the one person in the first place. So I would say if somebody comes up, either excuse yourself out of the conversation or bring yourself into that conversation so that you're part of it and extract some more information, get to know that person, get to know those people.
Yeah. Good idea. Good,
That's just
good, good
that's
points.
networking 101, man. That's just happens all the time. I mean, Stefan and I, we have our meetings. We'll be in the middle of a conversation and somebody will walk in the room and then there goes that conversation. You don't get a chance to continue it. And the third thing I was going to mention that is if you have an opportunity to follow up with that person and you want more time with them, you say, I would love is there a way I can get in touch with you? We can continue this conversation at a later time. They could say no, that's fine. If it's too early in the conversation, that might be awkward. But if you really have gotten into a decent conversation that got interrupted, then it may be appropriate to ask for another time to follow up, or maybe you'll see them next week at the same type of meeting.
But what if they come back at you and they say, well, what is this about? Is this some network marketing that you,
Well, I would
yeah.
say it depends on where you are at the conversation. I mean, that would be at the very, very, very end of number 7 in that conversation that they would even come up with an objection like that. But if you're somewhere in the 4 or 5, maybe 6 option,
Yeah,
say,
that question never comes up at that
yeah,
point.
I think you're poking at an objection. You're on slide 2, Joanne, that where all the party people are looking at you like, huh?
Yeah.
that's probably never going to happen. But it's
Well,
no,
realistically, if you know you're going to see somebody again, you can just pick up the conversation again.
Right.
We
Yeah.
trotted all over the state following our grandkids' volleyball tournaments, and it took me 4 different tournaments to recruit Travis because we'd get through 1 or 2 questions, and somebody scores a point or somebody interrupts you or it's time to take whatever it is, doesn't matter. And the next time I'd see him, I'd say, when I saw you last week, we were talking about, tell me more about that. And just pick up the conversation where it was.
Yeah.
And it took me 4 different games before I got to the point where I even approached him with Shaklee.
And it
Well, that's a
wasn't any
good
panic on immediately, like really reconnecting with him. It was
Yeah,
very
very
casual
casual.
and very natural relationship.
Yeah, good comebacks for my questions. Thank you.
welcome. All
Um,
right. Yo, Marie.
Stefan, can you hear me?
Hi, Lorraine.
Hi. When you said if someone asked me what I'm doing this weekend, that I would be offended, and what that tells me is that there's not a level of trust there. And before you can ask those kinds of questions, you have to develop a relationship. And the same thing, Jenny, if you say, what are you planning to do and to meet your goal in 5 or 10 years, and they just kind of, it could be that you aren't at the place in the relationship where they trust it to be open with you on that. And I'm speaking as a very introverted person. So I have felt that same way, Stefan, before. It's like, it's none of your business, And I think we need to be careful about that. We have to get to a point where it may not just be 7 questions. You're talking about building a relationship. And like Rick said, that may take time to do that. I think
Absolutely.
you have to feel that out with each person.
Totally. Well, like we said, this could be a 5-minute conversation, or it can be a 5-month conversation, depending on how the relationship
Or a
develops.
couple of years, Scott.
Yeah, or in my case with Rick, yeah, was it 2 or 3 years of conversations before I said Shaklee would be a fit in my life. Yeah. So,
Scott, may I add something real quick?
yeah, please.
I had a great experience the other day, and I thought it fits here. So there's a friend of mine. We speak every week, usually, unless he calls me 5 minutes before and says he fell or whatever. He's in his 80s, and we were talking 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he asked me what's going on, and I was in the middle of, I'm doing AI and coding and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to bore him with my technical stuff. And he was kind of angry. He's like, you don't say anything. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to bore you. And he came back and said, well, then make it interesting. And I thought that was actually brilliant, because I have it. Nobody's interested in my stuff. Like Lorraine, what you just said, introvert and all that kind of stuff. And I'm doing my thing and da 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 and all that. And it's like, we had the best conversation after that. I just, I started sharing and why I'm doing this and how my vision about this and that. And he thought, that's brilliant. That's awesome. I like it, like that. So
That's cool.
there's some permission also that we can give ourselves to just, people are interested in us as well. People want to know.
That's right.
And it's a disservice to them if I ignore their interest.
Well said, Stefan.
I think we better end on that note because I can't top that. Nice job.
Well, Scott, thanks for making it interesting tonight.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
You're welcome.
That was
Yeah.
great.
Great.
Thanks
great
for
subject.
reminding us about the 7 magic questions. It's always
Yeah.
good to come
Yeah,
back
it's a
around
great
and
review for everybody.
review
Yeah.
stuff.